Okay. So, hi, Sneha. Thank you for coming to this and thank you for joining me in this Alumni Talks event. Before we start, I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Sakshi. I'm a third year CRPS student and a current PMSG member, that is Peer Mentor Support Group. And I'm really happy that Sneha, an alumna of Ritsumeikan University, has agreed to join us and talk about her journey after Ritsumeikan. So before I monopolize the discussion, I just let Sneha talk about herself and just talk to us about what you're doing, where are you, and how is it going for you?
Hi, Sakshi. Thank you for that introduction. I'm happy to be here as well. So currently, I'm doing my master's. I'm in Belgium right now. I'm doing something called the Erasmus Mundus Masters in Global Studies. And in my first year, my second year will be in Denmark. It's a double degree program funded by the European Union. I'm also I received a scholarship to do this program, which is great. So yeah, it's been really good. Belgium is nice, apart from the lockdown. And just for context, I graduated in 2019, September, from CRPS in Ritsumeikan.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Wow, wow. So we'll get into a detail about each thing. And thank you for that amazing introduction. So, okay, before beginning about your journey, I just like the first question that comes to mind when I'm talking to a master's student is, why did you choose masters? I know it's a very typical question, but I just want to know what motivated you. Why not just, get a job or something?
I'm one of those weird people who like studying. I
Oh,
think I just like to put myself through a lot of stress. But in all honesty, I think it's to expand my career opportunities in the future. I feel like while the bachelor's at Ritsumeikan is very broad and it prepares us for a lot of career opportunities, I feel like specializing during a master's really adds to finally apply for jobs. And I actually plan on doing a PhD as well. But
wow.
that's just me because I want to get into academia.
That's
So
that's very
so yeah, that's why I applied for a master's. It was just fitting within my plan that I have for myself.
right. That's amazing actually. So you told us a bit about your journey in while you were introducing. So can you just tell us in detail, like every bit, like after graduating, what did you do, and did you immediately apply to the universities, or what was the journey after that?
Okay, how much time do we have? Let's go. So in 2019, I graduated in September. In earlier, in early 2019, I applied for my master's first. So around December 2018 and beginning of 2019, my first round of applications happened, and I got into a few universities that I wanted, but I didn't get the financial support I wanted at that time. So I decided to skip going for my master's on during that year and take a gap year. I did try applying for some jobs in Japan at that point, but I think I was too late for the job hunting period by the time I realized that maybe I should start looking in Japan because my initial plan was doing a master's. So, yeah, I tried job hunting for a little bit, but realized it wasn't for me. So, I went back to India to stay there for a year and do some internships, which I did do. I was at one NGO for working for women's rights in Delhi for about 3 months. That was my internship period. And I was offered an extension there, but I was like, maybe let's diversify my experience. Then I got with another foundation called Confederation for Young Leaders, CYL, where I was a public policy intern with them, and then the pandemic happened. So that's when I was like, okay, my work experience thing isn't working out. But also by the time I left CYL, I had received my result for EMGS, and I was going to leave India anyway in a few months. So I was like, okay, I'll take these 3 months to figure out my visa and just spend some time with my family before I leave. And I had gotten about 4.5 months of work experience by that point.
Mm,
So that was my past year and a half, I would say, before I came here.
that was very eventful. Wow.
Yeah.
So, the part that you said that you applied and you got into the universities, but like there was like some, I mean, whenever I think about these universities and masters, and when I just go on the tuition fees and student living costs, I become hopeless. It feels like it's for the rich, this education. And you're actually very right that it's kind of difficult. So later on, I will be talking about that. But right for now, can you tell me about this gap year thing? Because students, many, like not many, but like there are few of the students, and there's some people who actually see gap year in a negative light, right? Like they're kind of hesitant, and they become hopeless that maybe it won't work. So how did you find your way? How did you become motivated? Did it ever come into your mind?
Of course, it was like in the beginning, I was very hesitant. I was considering just applying for the job seeking visa in Japan, which is valid for 6 months. But then I realized that I also need money for that because we're not allowed to work part time during that. So I was like, maybe I just try doing it in India instead and get the work experience. I would say I was very lucky because my parents were very supportive of that, of coming back to India and getting that work experience. I think they also missed me for the 4 years. So they was like, yeah, just come. We'll figure it out. Um, and honestly, like, I couldn't have had made a better decision. I'm so glad that had happened because if I had gone for my education in 2019 itself, I would have had to take an education loan, not have the work experience that was very valuable for my application for EMGS actually. Like, I don't think without the final work experience that I had working full time for two great foundations, without that, I don't think I would have gotten into EMGS. And I also studied a new language during that time. I was also part time studying German at a school in Delhi.
Oh, wow.
So I think all of that experience really added up for me getting this master's and the scholarship, apart from, of course, the degree from Ritsumeikan. So I know it's a little bit scary to take that gap year, but work experience really helps in getting these kinds of scholarships because they do look at that. And I don't think there's any other time or we get to work full time for a little bit if we want to continue our studies. So yeah, as long as your parents support you a little bit with that, because internships in Delhi don't pay that much, they just give a little stipend. I think it's a very good idea to take that time off to work on your people skills and practical experiences.
Right, right. That's actually wow. That's very important. Thank you for saying that. Because there's a lot going on right now as a third year student. I'm also thinking about so many things in my mind. I have to worry about my future, right? So before, like, we talked about this gap year thing. Now moving on. Why? So, there are many layers to this application process. And the first and foremost is researching, shortlisting your universities, knowing where you are going, right? So, was Europe always in your plans? Or, there are some other universities that you were thinking about? Just talk to me about that.
Okay. As I told you before, I had applied once for everything in the year I was graduating. So at that point, I had much more going on. Like, I applied in the US, I applied in the UK, I applied in Europe as well then, but I was doing a more wide search. Um, I think that was my learning experience. So it honestly depends from person to person, depending on their financial situation and everything, of course. But for me, I realized after my first round of applications that the UK and US for me would probably not work out because they're much more expensive. And I found little scholarship opportunities from there because even though there are some Indian scholarships that are offered to Indian students for study abroad, I realized that I don't qualify for a lot of them because I did not complete my bachelor's from India. So that disqualifies a lot of us for those scholarships because we didn't graduate from India. So then I was like, okay, let's scrap that because I realized Europe had a lot more opportunities for scholarships and for a lot of well-reputed universities. And I continued on my stroke to not be that Indian student who always applies to the UK and US, just like I did with Japan. So I was like, okay, let's just focus on Europe for my second round of applications. And I only applied in like universities in Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark, Germany a lot actually, because Germany has free education. So I was focusing a lot on that because they don't have tuition fees for anyone at all, regardless of their international status. And I also visited Germany's DAAD office in India, in Delhi, to get information on that. And then from a friend, I heard about Erasmus Mundus. And that recommendation from that friend was very useful, as you can see. And then I applied for like 3 Erasmus Mundus programs. And yeah, I got into this one with the scholarship.
Wow.
But that was my thinking behind choosing Europe. It's mostly because of the finances, I would say, not because of any other deep reason. I would have liked to go to like a big universities in the US, but I think
about the costs too, right?
Yeah. And I think Erasmus Mundus is an amazing program. So I'm glad I went that track because not a lot of people know about this and the amazing scholarship opportunities. But once you find out, you realize what a wonderful community of people you're with from all over the world. So I think that's very valuable.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. And we would talk about the scholarship in a bit. But like the thing that you said that we always tilt towards US and UK, and it's very true when we are talking about the Indian students. But yeah, Europe is an amazing place. I think the living standards, and as you said, Germany. I didn't know that they offered free education. Thank you for telling that. Okay, so now moving on, we discussed about why did you choose Europe, and why did you choose this major? Like what majors? Like is it a research major, or is it like the theoretical? It has a theoretical kind of major.
I would say it's quite unique. It's called Erasmus Mundus Masters in Global Studies. So it's a little bit of both. I would say it's very. I would say the teaching methodology is quite similar to what CRPS is because it's a mix of qualitative, quantitative theory and research. So I mean, I guess a little bit more theoretical than what we have done in CRPS, but also there's research methodology. Of course, there's the master thesis later where we would have to decide if we want to do research or if we want to do a, like a fully theoretical thesis. But that's up to us. It's a very open-ended, based on our own preferences kind of masters, which I really like. I picked this because I picked up my interests while I was doing my bachelor's, and I realized that I want to stay in the international sphere and also in academia, and this seemed like the perfect master's for that because global studies is slightly different from international relations, but also it's like a mix between international relations and policy and globalization and history. So it just matched my interests, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that is an answer.
So, but like, it's just a question. Like, it wasn't included here, but I just want to know.
It's great. Like, yeah. I really like it, and the professors here are, yeah, they're really helpful and supportive of everything. Like I am just advocating for EMGS and Erasmus, but I mean, of course, it depends on everyone's preferences. I know people who are studying in the US and UK who are really happy with that
Yeah.
too. So totally up to preferences,
Hmm.
I would say.
That's important that you should be happy what you're doing, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Good point. So, what are your research interests though in the global study? Like, are there specific, like, is there something like gender studies or, poverty? What interests you the most?
I'm definitely interested in gender and women's rights, and I have some classes related to that here, which is also something great about EMGS. Back to the advertisement, but like just that there's a wide range of subjects we can choose from,
Uh-huh.
quite a wide range, and we can pick our interests. And at least at my track in Ghent University in Belgium, of course, different universities have different rules for that. Um, so yeah, my interest is definitely women's studies and development studies, development policy, and policy, which yeah, comes from my bachelor's as well. And I've been able to study all of that during my time here already, and I haven't even completed 1 year yet, and I hope to write my master thesis surrounding women's rights and most likely about something in India.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I wish you all the best in that. Right. So yeah. So moving on, we were talking about like this application process, right? So you talked about this whole your studies and why did you choose this major and how important it is to actually think about and shortlist all these things, right? In this application process, you also mentioned how important the work experience and internship is, right? For a student to get into the to get a scholarship and to get into a school. So, will is there any advice you want to give to the current students right now about this work experience? Because personally, also I feel that when there's so many parts of the application process. It's not just your GPA, it's also your recommendation letters, it's also SOPs, it's also the college resume, as you mentioned, the work experience. So what do you think is the most, I won't say important because they're all partially important in a way, but what is the most difficult and what should we work on mainly?
The work experience, I would say, is the most difficult part. There are actually a lot of Erasmus Mundus programs that require a minimum duration of work experience. One
Oh.
of which I did apply for was the Human Rights Policy and Practice Erasmus Mundus Masters, which did require 2 years of professional working experience. Thankfully, I did have that because I also was a volunteer during my school time in Delhi when I was in 11th and 12th class. And yeah, I collected all of my little bits of experience and made it into 2 years somehow. But yeah, of course, work experience is the most difficult part, I think, especially as students, not native speakers in Japan, because I think getting that work experience in Japan is slightly hard.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was a challenge for me trying to figure out how to get those 2 years, and that last year where I took the gap and got those extra months in was what helped me meet that requirement
Wow.
of work experience. Even though I did not end up doing that master, I came for this one where the requirement was a language,
Oh,
extra language, where Japanese helped me. So
and even German, you studied German, so you had two.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's just a as much as academics is important, and I'm sure that helped me because my CGPA also was pretty good
Yeah,
from
but who knows?
CRPS.
You is well acquainted that you are a brilliant, and you
Oh,
are a brilliant.
let's not. But yeah, so I think it's a little bit of everything. You need to have the extracurricular, the work experience, and just how you present yourself in the SOP. Because even if you have everything, how you present yourself on the application really, really matters. Like, even without the work experience, I think if you write an SOP well, and you meet all the criteria, because that's how they meet you. The statement of purpose is how the people who are assessing your application meet you as a person. They don't interview you, they only read that personal like piece of information. So I would say, like, don't be afraid if you don't have the correct duration of work experience that you think, if you don't, have the best grades. I think if you can show them through your SOP that you deserve to be in that master's, I think that's what matters the most at the end of the day.
Wow.
If you're afraid of all the other factors, I would say.
Yeah, SOPs. Yeah. So we're talking about the SOPs again. So what do you mean by writing the statement of purpose well? Because the first thing I think people like me would do when there we are sitting, we would of course check the internet. That what how do we write an SOP? Of course, right? Because it's a very intimidating task. So, but there's also a thing that you need to be very real when you're doing this. So, what do you mean by that, writing well?
Um, I would say, yeah, I Googled that too a little bit. um, but I think it's mainly about like making sure that the people who are reading your SOP know that you know what the program is. I think because they do care. I think if you go the extra mile of going through the website completely, knowing what the curriculum is, knowing what the requirements of the program to graduate is, like, sometimes it's easy to write one SOP and use it for multiple applications without like changing much. I did do that to some extent, but I was like modifying it based on every program, going through the website and properly going through everything and making sure that they knew in my SOP that I'm really interested in that, through knowing about the program. And two, even when you talk about yourself in the SOP, it should look like it makes sense. Your past makes sense for this master's. So, yeah, like I think that was what I did, and it worked.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice actually. That not just copy pasting for everything, but need to have that X factor about every university you're applying to, right? And then,
Exactly. I would say that's very important.
wow, that's great actually. Okay, so I know you are very excited telling about your scholarship and more because I'm also really excited to know about it because that sounds like an amazing scholarship. So I'll just give it to you and I want you to talk about the scholarship thing, Erasmus Mundus. How did you apply it? Like you told me that you got to know from your friend. When did you apply for it? And what is it? What is it covering? Is it a full waiver? How are you managing stuff?
So I applied last year in January, I believe was the deadline, mid-January. Could have been February, but like the early 2 months. I'll send you the link for the catalog if you want. You can put that in. So EMGS no, there's an Erasmus Mundus joint master's degree catalog. That's the website with all the masters in Erasmus. So yeah, that's where I found the list of all the masters they offer in around November or December. Then I found the three I was most interested in because you can only apply for three Erasmus Mundus masters, which was this one, then a public policy one, and the human rights one that I told you about. So I applied for all three with the scholarship as yeah, and as non-EU country citizens, there are more scholarships available for like the non-EU
Oh,
people. And I applied in that section, and we only need to tick a box like I would like to be considered for the scholarship and submit a residence proof. So I had to get that from like a Delhi affidavit office notary to prove my residence, because the scholarship is based on your residence. And then, yeah, that's how I applied for it. And the scholarship covers everything, which is why I applied. So it's 1,000 euros every month for living expenses. They cover tuition.
Wow.
Then in the beginning, they pay you an extra 3,000 euros for your flight tickets and for your mobilization costs. Then also an extra 1,000 euros in the beginning for installation costs wherever you're going. So it's 1,000 euros every month plus tuition, plus in the beginning money for flights and installation. And you get the 3,000 euros installation cost twice.
Mm-hmm.
So once when you start, and then once before you start your second year, because you have to move again. That's part of this master's, that it's 1 year in one country in one university and the second year in the other university. And you can also do a study abroad apart from that in your third semester. And a lot of my friends are going to like Canada or the US, or in some like Ethiopia, I don't think is happening this year, but South Africa and Cameroon. So yeah. So you get another installation costs later in October this year. It's pretty great. Like I haven't needed to work apart from that because it's enough money.
Wow.
For sure. And yeah, I have no complaints with the scholarship. It's been really helping me out.
It sounds so great. It sounds similar to MEXT, right? In a way.
In many ways, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very similar, yes. I think apart from the mobilization costs, it's pretty much the same. Yeah.
Sounds very nice. And plus you get to study in 2 different countries. That's a very, wow, that's amazing actually. And they still cover that cost? Continue to cover?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you were planning to go to like you're thinking of going to PhDs. So will that scholarship continue a lot?
No, it won't.
Oh.
It ends with the masters, but of course, like the universities I'm at right now offer really good PhD programs with a really good fellowship attached to it. So I would like to probably apply at my university here, maybe, or maybe even, I don't know yet. I don't know where I'll apply for a PhD, or if I'll work for a little bit before I do a PhD after graduating. That's not clear right now. But yeah, these are both options that I'm considering.
Yeah, that's actually very nice. And how difficult are the studies?
I mean, they're good. Of course, a master's is challenging in comparison with a bachelor, I would say. But it's difficult. But I think once we've done CRPS, we are well prepared to handle most masters, I would say.
So is it like different from, of course it would be different from the bachelor's. So how different it is? Like, I think it would be more focused in a way, right?
Yes, kind of, but I like, it's less classes, I would say. Like in Ritsumeikan, I remember taking like 22 credits sometimes in the beginning of the bachelor's in the first 2 years. But here it's like 5 classes per semester. And we have a winter and summer school, which is also nice, which acts like a class, but it's just 3 days of being in contact with every EMGS student, which is cool. So the 5 classes feel like the 10 classes during a bachelor's, but it's manageable. I mean, of course, it's a lot of work, but I actually like it that we have exams for some classes, and for some classes we have to write a paper. So it balances out well, I would say. Yeah, it's like a higher version, obviously, of the bachelor's, but I don't see a very big difference.
Wow.
I would say. If yeah, I don't know how much that helps, but
yeah, thank you for telling me that. And also, like right now, we are in we have to work for our thesis to graduate, right? And sometimes we don't really have to work on thesis. We can get the classes and just graduate. So like, while I was looking for those schools and universities, there are some universities that ask for your thesis, a part of it, when you're applying, and there are some that do not really want. They just want another paper, or any kind of paper. So did Erasmus Mundus, like, when you were applying to this, how important thesis was while applying for this scholarship in this university?
I don't remember if I submitted my thesis, to be honest. I would have to go back to my application, but I do remember some of the universities that I applied to did ask for it. I don't remember. I could check that for you later, but I mean, I don't think, I think even a well-written paper is good. Like, they just want to see your writing skills. A lot of universities don't even ask for a sample paper, so it just depends. I really don't remember. Yeah, but yeah, I applied to other universities with just some papers that I wrote, and I also got accepted into other universities with just a paper.
Oh
So
wow.
I would say that, yeah, I mean, the thesis is important, but depends on the university.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
I-
We can check that later. You can check that later. Right.
yeah.
Okay. So before, like, now I would have a last question because I'm actually occupying a lot of time of yours. I'm really
No,
sorry.
it's fine. It's fine. I'm talking a lot.
Okay. So what? Okay. There. This is not the last question, but you can say a last bit. So one thing that you wish you knew while you were applying, like when you were here in my place while you were applying for the universities.
Hmm. I would say I wish I had done more Japanese. I always say this to everyone. Is one thing I really regret, because learning a language while you're in a country is really valuable, because if you learn it separately outside of that country, you would never gain the fluency
Mm-hmm.
that you can while living in the country. That's one thing I wish I did. So I could have maybe done some more job hunting in Japan, or maybe stayed a little bit longer there, because I really love Japan. And I realized that I missed living more in Japan for sure. Even when I'm here, I miss living in Japan, as amazing as this master's is and as amazing as Belgium is. So that's one. But that's not related to masters, I guess. Um,
That's all right.
I think the second part is definitely um, knowing all the conditions of scholarships, because I did have to go for it a second time. So I didn't know a lot. I was just too ambitious and thought that, oh, maybe I'll just get the scholarships everywhere, and which obviously doesn't happen. So I think I should have done more research on loans if I needed some, or on deadlines of external scholarships, because there's so many scholarships available outside of the universities you apply to, from private organizations, from and they, yeah, I think I should have done more research on that. But then looking back, it still worked out for me later. But these are things I should have probably looked into more. And the work experience in the first year, I wish I had done more work somehow, maybe an internship in Japan or something. But then again, it's so much pressure to work while studying, and I'm not doing that currently, even though maybe I should look at jobs. But yeah, is there anything else that I should have known while I was applying? I think I had my bases covered, to be honest. Like, I had been in touch with Sakurai sensei and with Professor Shiki for my recommendation letters. Even when I applied in the second year, I had told them in advance when I was leaving Japan that I'm going to email you in 1 year asking for the same recommendation letters again. So just so you know a little bit in advance, you should start applying in like September, even though the deadline is in January, and getting all your documents ready. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have much to say about that, but just know where you want to apply. I think you need to do a lot of research. If I had done the same amount of research I did in the second year, I would have probably been done with all of it within the first round of applications in 2019. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think you covered all the parts, I think, because the thing that you mentioned about recommendation letters, they've some for some people it's kind of easy, but it's also very important, to get those recommendation letters right. And that's an important part that you told us. Thank you for telling us
Of
that.
course. Really want to shout out to Professor Hicks, Professor Shiki, and Professor Sakurai, because actually, oh yeah, they when I applied Leipzig, that's where my base university for EMGSS wanted a hard copy of a recommendation letter. And I was in India then, and they wanted a original hard copy sealed in a university envelope then. And I cannot be more grateful to Professor Sakurai, because he sent me a letter sealed from Japan to India
Oh my God.
to for me to, and then sent me a separate envelope as well to put it in a new envelope to send it to my applicate, like the Leipzig University in Germany. So yeah, without that I wouldn't have been able to apply. So like during the pandemic, Professor Sakurai sent me that letter. So I would say
We
I
have
owe him a lot.
Yeah, we have amazing mentors, really. I'm really, really grateful for them. Yeah. Oh my God. That's amazing to hear. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
He
So,
really helped me out. And Professor Shiki and Hicks, who also sent me all the letters again when I needed them the next year.
oh my
Just
God.
really grateful for everyone. Yeah.
They're so nice. They're very nice. Yeah, I think that's the one thing about CRPS is, although it's a very small community and we have this very little community with limited number of people, but I think that's what make it very, unique in a way, because we have mentors who can look after you so keenly, and I love that. I think I love my
Yeah.
mentors, seriously.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't have asked for anyone better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
for
that.
sure.
Okay, so this is a like a rapid fire thingy. I like you to be quick on this. Okay,
Okay.
said that you missed Japan a lot. So what is the one thing that you miss about Japan? You have to be quick.
Okay. The people.
Right. One thing you miss about Ritsumeikan University.
The 7-Eleven coffee in the morning.
Good choice. Nice. The best moment in Japan was the time when I fill in the blank.
Oh, when I read my first recommendation letter and felt so loved by my professor.
Aw, that's so nice. Okay. One word. If I ask you one word that would describe your journey in Japan, what word would that be?
Unforgettable. Let's go with that.
Aw, that's so nice. Okay. All right. One advice, or you can say comment, or anything you would want to, give to the current students. One thing you would like to say to them.
I would say don't hold back from trying to be ambitious. Uh, I think that's very important. Like apply wherever you feel like without thinking that, oh, I would not get in. Don't have reservations and just believe in yourself and just go for it. You have nothing to lose. Apply everywhere and just give in your best and don't worry too much about the outcome, because I realize I stress too much and that never helps when you just constantly anxious about things.
Oh my God. Thank you for saying that. Because that is my current situation. I've been very anxious these days. And yeah, I think
You'll figure it out.
yeah, thank you for saying that actually, because one thing about applying and thinking about future is that I that deserving to get that scholarship? Should I even try? That feeling of hopelessness. But thank you for saying that we should just be ambitious and go for it. Thank you, Sneha, for talking to me. It was so nice talking to you. You
It was
gave me
my
so
honor.
gave us so much to actually learn about, and I have so much to, I think this would really benefit all of us in a way. And I don't think that we have much to offer you in this Alumni Talks event, but you still
Oh,
took time out, and that's amazing. I'm really grateful for you.
it's really nice to see you. I remember when you came to university when I was in my final year, and suddenly you're in your third year, and so crazy how fast time passes.
Yeah, and
So,
yeah, when you were talking about this, I also would like to say that I'm really grateful that you've helped me coming to Japan, while I was figuring out my way. Yeah, this is very honest, but my father is really grateful for your father and for your family, because I'm a very protected child and my father and my parents worry a lot. But the way your family has helped my parents is amazing. And now you're helping me out with this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
you have my number.
Yeah,
Super
thank
appreciate.
you so much.
It's really not, yeah. As if I can help someone with the little bit of experience I have, it's the least I can do. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for talking to me.